Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the guided mindset practice for the new year for therapists. Yesterday was our first day, and we met to talk about celebrations and gratitude, which is always such a good foundation for your day, basically. Like, it's always such a good idea to start out with what you're celebrating, big or small, especially the things that you feel aren't worth celebrating, like just looking around your life to see if there's anything that you can celebrate, especially right now because things are tough. And so maybe your celebration is that you got up this morning. Maybe your celebration is that you made sure to drink a lot of water. Maybe it's that you got outside today. Or maybe it's just that you raised your fee after months and months of working up the courage to do it, and it felt really good. Or maybe, and this can be a scary one, like someone called and they wanted to work with you, but they couldn't pay the fee that you wanted to get paid. And so you actually, rather than doing the thing where you lowered your fee to something that like wouldn't actually meet your needs, you said, actually, I can't work with you, and you gave them referrals to other sources. All of these things count as celebrations. All of these things count as wins. And then doing gratitude, practice of just noticing everything in your life that you can be grateful for, again, big or small. One of the ways to start to call in more of what we want is to be grateful for what we have. And that can sound kind of lame because you're like, oh, but I want so much more than what I have. And that's fine. You get to want more. In fact, I want you to want more. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And if you can really connect to just really savoring what you have right now, that'll help move you a little bit more quickly toward what you deeply, deeply desire. All right, so hopefully yesterday or whenever you're watching it, you did those first 2 parts of the practice. You did your brags, your celebrations, and you did your gratitude. Today we're going to be talking about desires and your to-do list. I know the second one probably doesn't sound as fun, but we'll get into it. We'll make it fun. So with desires, you're just using the sentence prompt, I want. So you're just writing down anything you want. This was really transformative for me actually just shy of a year ago. I remember there was like one time I was talking to my coach, and I really wanted 2 things to be happening. I really wanted both things, and I just saw them as incompatible. I just really couldn't see how they could both happen at once. And my coach encouraged me to write them both down. Just start writing, I want this and I want this. And I was just like, okay, whatever, I guess I'll write those down. Like, obviously that's not going to do anything. But then I did, and it felt kind of magical, honestly, because then immediately I started thinking about like, well, how can I do these 2 things? Like, maybe it actually is possible. Maybe I've been thinking about this in a more limited way than was actually helpful. And it was true. Once I wrote down like, I want both of these things, it became so much easier to figure out how to make that possible. So when you're writing down your desires, go ahead and write down the things that feel completely ridiculous, feel completely like it couldn't happen in this year, couldn't even happen in this lifetime. It's just super extraordinary, but you actually want it. So don't be shy about your wants. Don't hold back. Don't limit your wants based on what's realistic, based on what you believe is possible, based on like what's good. Because like some of these desires are probably going to happen and maybe some of them aren't, and that's okay. I don't want you to get held back in writing these by thinking like, ooh, this desire is bad. Like, in fact, like, you can play with that. There's a practice that unfortunately I don't know this person's name off the top of my head. It was a podcast that I listened to recently, and maybe I'll put that in the description so you can have that. But she introduced an exercise that she called the Bad Girl Protocol, which was, if I were a bad girl, I would da 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 da. And this is kind of like a different context, but you could ask yourself the same question. Like, a lot of us therapists are really take a lot of pride in being good people. We really want to be good people, and so sometimes when we want things, I know for me, like, whether it was like, probably for a while it wasn't conscious, but now it was conscious for a while I was still practicing it, I certainly associated being good with like not wanting things. And so when I started to connect with my desires and what I wanted and started to acknowledge and own them, it really like got at this, ooh, I'm being bad feeling. Like it's not okay for me to want that. It's not okay for me to have that. And so I really had to begin to confront the fact that I had desires and I did want things, and maybe I wanted nice things, and maybe I wanted lots of things, and maybe I wanted extraordinary experiences. And so this is an opportunity in this daily practice to get to connect with that, to get to connect with even the desires that feel bad or risque or too much or just like, ooh, I can never do that. So write that stuff down, as well as the kind of like maybe more pristine, good girl. Hey, Sierra, welcome. I see you on Facebook watching. Awesome. Go ahead and connect to those desires as well. That's just an opportunity to write them all down. And then if you want to work that edge a little bit more, it's like, well, if you got everything you wanted, then what else would you want? It's like just when you think you've taken it to like the furthest possible edge, you're just like, could I go a little bit further? Could I experience even more pleasure? Could I have an even, I don't want to say bigger, but like sure, like maybe bigger desire, deeper desire, more intense desire? Can I maybe tolerate more sensation, a higher level sensation, a more intense sensation of pleasure, of having? And you just let yourself bask in all of that. Okay, I think you get the point. If you don't, just rewatch that on a loop over and over again. And then the next piece of this is writing your to-do list or your brain dump of just like what needs to get done today, like what your priorities are. As a business owner, there's a chance you have lots of to-dos. Maybe there's some days that you don't. But if your brain works like my brain, oh my God, it's not just like, hey, you need to like send emails today. My brain is like, you need to send this email and this email and this email. And it like tells me every little thing that I need to do and will keep on telling me until I do it. So like my to-do lists can be quite long because I will write kind of like minute tasks that maybe other people would put in a category of things, and then just know that they'll do that more specific thing. But my brain doesn't like that. So my to-do list can be very long, but the instructions I'm going to give you for your to-do list are a little different. I'm going to ask you to write out what your priorities are, and then ask you to kind of whittle it down to just the basics, just the most important things. Some of you out there probably have assistants, some of you don't, some of you are working in a group practice, you might even be directors of a group practice and have like lots of responsibilities, you might be supervisors, you might have lots of different roles. So some of you might have a team of people who you can sometimes delegate tasks to, other times you might be doing this all on your own right now, which honestly I don't recommend. I did that for a long time, and you totally can. Here's the thing, like you can, and you can be successful and you can have fun and you can make a lot of money. All of that is possible. I don't want to say like if you don't have a team you can't succeed, because that's bullshit. It's just not true. You can succeed. In my experience, I've really enjoyed having a team of people. The first person that I began working with was my business coach, and that was a game changer. And has continued to be a game changer. Like the impact and the effects have just like grown exponentially. Interestingly, as I've watched her grow exponentially in her business, it's been really incredible to have an example of a person who's doing something that I previously thought was impossible, which is have a really huge impact, be like a genuinely loving, caring person, walk their talk, like she does what she says, like I perceive her as someone who has integrity, and I also see her like so enjoying her life, like truly enjoying her life, and not in a like martyred way, because that's the way I used to enjoy my life. I love being a martyr. It's so much fun. You get so much pleasure out of being like, oh, I just work so hard. Like, and I'm not saying that about you, I'm saying that about me. Like, that is true for me. I get a lot out of that. But I also, like, that's maybe kind of like the more conscious side of like, oh, I work so hard, I'm such a good person, I'm always there for other people, I really care about people. But what was really edgy for me was like, I want to feel good just because I want to feel good. Like, that felt really, really edgy for me. And it was so hard for me to believe that there was maybe a way to do that and be in integrity. Hey, Samantha, welcome. And then I met this person who was doing that, and it just gave me so much hope. And I was like, okay, cool. There's like one person in this world that I know is doing this work in a way that I want to emulate. And so I've kind of gone off on a tangent, but I suppose this had to do with the to-do list and delegating and having support and having a team. So you do not have to hire a team in order to be successful. And for me, that's been such a game changer. It's felt really good. It's been nice to have someone to hand tasks off to, because I'm a person who knows I can do everything and I will do everything, but that's not good for me. So I do better work when I have support and I have more fun. The other thing I'll say about this to-do list is to include pleasure. Include in your intention, in your plan for the day, a way that you are going to connect with your own pleasure. Because that's just important, and because if you want to change faster and in more significant, dramatic ways, the way to do that is to include pleasure every single day, and to have that be a right and not a privilege. It's not something we wait for. It's not something we do later on after we've done all the work. It's actually something we do first. This is really, really different than like everything that we've been taught. We've been taught in a myriad of ways through a lot of different cultural contexts that pleasure is something that happens later or never. Thinking about it from like a puritanical background in this country through colonization, life is a slog. You work really fucking hard and then you're dead and you go to heaven and it's great, right? So no complaining here, you just work really, really hard. That is some of the legacy of what's been baked into white American culture, and of course has impacted even folks who are not white, because whiteness is dominating here. So if you've been here, that's just one way you've been impacted by this. That's just one way you've been taught not to connect with your own pleasure, not to prioritize your own pleasure. But if you want to make some moves in your business and you want to do it more quickly, the way to do that is to prioritize pleasure every single day. All right, speaking of which, I gotta go because I've got a date with my friend in Germany who I haven't spoken to in a really long time. I'm so excited to see her. It's gonna be really good. All right, y'all, enjoy this. Your homework today is focusing on writing your desires list and writing a to-do list and then narrowing that shit down and prioritizing pleasure. That's what you gotta do today. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.